All right, I'm here with an updated look at my Super Nintendo collection. My Super Nintendo, Super Nintendo Entertainment System, SNES, whatever you want to call it. Don't call it SNES, guys. Come on. I find SNES like so just vile. Like I cannot. Ugh. And then one time I was at the flea market and there was like a vendor had some Super Nintendo games out, and this guy's like, "Oh, look, they have SNES games," and that made me like physically ill. Like I felt like I had to like lie down or something. Truly horrendous. But Super Nintendo collection, I'm gonna try to keep this one under like an hour. So there's gonna be some games where I'm just have nothing to talk about with it, so I'm gonna just show it and move on. Otherwise, I'll share my thoughts or whatever. I will share stories of how I got some things if I got a good deal. I don't know why people. I've gotten some comments where people get mad about that. I don't know why. You're watching the wrong channel. This is like a game hunting channel first and foremost. So I feel like if you don't like it, I don't care. First up, Aladdin. So this is the Capcom Super Nintendo game, not the Virgin, literally Virgin Entertainment Genesis game, which is still good. But I mean, it's like the Chad Capcom game versus the Virgin game, because this game is much better than the Genesis game. I know people are like, "Oh, the Genesis game here has a sword." And I don't know why that sounded like Owen Wilson there. Oh, the Genesis game, wow. Um, I don't care. The Super Nintendo game is great. It's just a really solid platformer. Capcom did some good stuff with Disney back in the day. Batman Forever, not a very good game. The other Batman game, I'm going through my box games first, and then I'm going to go through my card-only games. I should probably mention that. The other Batman game, Batman Returns, is pretty solid beat 'em up. That one, pretty bad. So yeah, I'm going to go through my complete in box and my box Super Nintendo games that are, for the most part, going to be in alphabetical order until I get at the end, because I run out of room, as you can see over here. That's my like overflow, which I just kind of put them there as I get them. So, or just how that ever happened, I don't know. But gonna go through those. Beavis and Butthead. Another one that's not so hot, but that was a garage sale find. I remember I got a Super Nintendo for $25, and they had some box games. That was one of them. Pretty cool find. Best Championship Karate. That's like I said, some of these games I'm not gonna have much to say about. Same thing with boxing. Legends of the Ring. I really like Super Nintendo box games. Obviously, you can see I'm a big fan of N64 box games. Super Nintendo box games is also one of my favorite things to collect. Carrier Aces. I got a bunch of these kind of like airplane games in a bundle at a garage sale where I bought a PS2 from the guy for like $20, and then he was like, he was like thrilled that he sold the PS2, and I was like, he was like, "Is there anything else I can do for you?" The guy literally asked me that, and I was like, "Do you have any more video game stuff?" And then he was like, "Oh wait," and then he lifted up a box of VHS games, pulled out a Super Nintendo game and a bunch of box games. Nothing great, but like I said, there was like stuff like this in there. And he's like, I don't know, $5. And then he was like, let me carry this to your car for you. And he carried it to the car, and then he shook my hand. He was so thrilled to sell me this stuff. That was a funny sale. Clue. This is the board game Clue for the Super Nintendo. We got Donkey Kong Country. This was actually a garage sale find from had a bunch of good Super Nintendo games and NES games that I got. The woman wanted $20 for the whole bundle, and there was a bunch of great stuff in there. And there was a card-only NES copy of Wayne's World, which is like a over $200 game. I gave her, I think, $80 for it, $60, something like that. But she was thrilled by that. Donkey Kong Country 2 and Donkey Kong Country 3. Classics still like look really awesome for the Super Nintendo too visually, but just classic games. I got to be honest, I have like the weird opinion. I feel like the first Donkey Kong Country is the weakest one. I think 2 is the best, and then I really like 3. I don't know why people don't really like 3 that much. It's a late release Super Nintendo game, but I like that one quite a bit. But yeah, these are all pretty fun games. I like these ones. Classics, of course. I mean, Donkey Kong Country. There's not much I can say about Donkey Kong Country that hasn't already been said, so. Dragon's Lair. This is of course the old Don Bluth, Laserdisc arcade game, ported to the Super Nintendo, and it's bad. So I mean, Dragon's Lair is cool. I guess the actual Dragon's Lair game is cool as a concept. It's not super cool to actually really experience if you've ever given it a shot. But it's cool as a concept for sure, and the animation's great. But they ported it to other systems, not good. ESPN National Hockey Night. Got some Final Fantasies here. Final Fantasy 2, which is Final Fantasy 4, of course. Final Fantasy 3, which is, of course, Final Fantasy 6. And my copy of this game is like very nice condition. I bought this at a game store. It was like $80 back in 2014, I think. I remember I sold my bike. I had like outgrown my bike. I was in high school. I sold my bike on Craigslist and used the money to buy Final Fantasy 3. And then Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. These are all in great shape. So probably one of my biggest shames as a JRPG fan is that I've never played all the way through either Final Fantasy 4 or 6. I've never beaten them. One of my biggest shames, but super cool games otherwise. Mystic Quest has a cool soundtrack at least. I mean, I know what they were going for as like a baby's first RPG for Mystic Quest, and it's not horrible, but it's not very engaging. But cool stuff. Should I show Super Famicom games in this? I might as well throw my Super Famicom games at the end of the box. All my Super Famicom games are boxed, so I can show those at the end, because I have some Final Fantasy over there, too. Foreman for Real. Just amazing stuff. Home Alone. Some people might have something to say about Home Alone for the Super Nintendo. I don't. I certainly don't. You see these screenshots? I don't think so. This is upside down. The Hunt for Red October. I find this very funny that they made this a game. It's a Super Scope game, but the fact that they made a video game off of The Hunt for Red October is very, very funny. I don't know. I gotta make sure I'm not showing these upside down every time. No, that was the only one that was upside down. I don't know why. Jeopardy! Just awesome, man. I'm sorry I have so many ones that I just have nothing to say, but a lot of these I get for cheap, or a lot of these were from garage sale bundles, and I just don't have much to say. Judge Dredd. If anyone, of course, sound off in the comments below if there's anything I didn't have much to say about that's like a hidden gem or something, or game I should check out. Jurassic Park. You can use a Super Nintendo mouse for this one. I grew up actually on the Jurassic Park game on Genesis. It was not very good. I don't know if this one's any better. It's cool that you can use the mouse, though, for that one, at least. Link to the Past. This was a find I got from like the very first game convention I really went to, which was a MagFest 2014. So I remember getting this for like $50 or something. I remember when you could find like deals at the the conventions, but Link to the Past is awesome. I mean, very clearly a classic, and I feel like it doesn't get as much, this is going to sound crazy, but as a Zelda game, it doesn't get as much credit as it probably should these days. Like, obviously, as a game itself, it gets a ton of credit for being like, you know, an absolute classic, but I don't hear it in the conversation as much as far as Zelda. I feel like it's kind of been replaced with stuff like the new Switch games and all that, but obviously still an all-timer. I mean, Nintendo just knew how to make a game back then, you know? I mean, they still do now. I mean, it's just wild, though, that they were out here in the 90s making something, you know, with such a young medium, that they were out there in the 90s making something so interesting. And then Madden was sitting there making Madden 94. I mean, he was sitting at the computer programming this all by himself. Shout out to Madden. Mario's early years, fun with numbers. I got this one, like a mispricing on my local game store. They priced this way cheaper than it would go for. Obviously not the most interesting game, but complete in box. It's not the most super common one. That company, the Software Toolworks, it was known for educational games, made this one. And it's interesting. Nintendo did not really do much of licensing out for a number of years, but they used to do it. They had those Deke cartoons, um, the Mario Super Show and everything, and they did this, and then we didn't get anything where Nintendo licensed out Mario until like Mario and Sonic to Sega and Mario and Rabbids with Ubisoft, but they were for a while, and we got the movie with Illumination. Mecha Robot Golf, maybe the coolest box art of all time. It goes so hard. This box art goes so hard. The name of the game seems so cool, and it's just kind of a golf game. You can play as robots, I guess, but it's not super interesting. I mean, the character select, there's really only like one robot guy even in this picture here. So you'd think that this game was better, but I think I played this game for like 10 minutes, and I was like, yeah, this is a golf game. It's not as awesome as you'd think it would be, but at least the box art's great, right? Mega Man X. I've always been more partial to the NES games. They're more my thing, but Mega Man X is still solid. Wish I had the X2 and X3, obviously, especially in the box. I don't have them at all, but especially in the box. But those games are crazy expensive. But Mega Man, especially 2 through 6, I would say, are, I think, kind of quintessential Mega Man, and then probably after that, Mega Man X for me. But then they started, making 10 trillion games, and we wonder why Mega Man went away for a little bit when they made like 38 Battle Network games that all came out in the same year. Mickey Mania, the timeless adventures of Mickey Mouse. So this is a Mickey game. This is not the game I was thinking it was. I had the Mickey game, Mickey's Magical Quest on the Genesis. Mickey Mania was, I think David Jaffe from Twisted Metal worked on that one. Because this was like pre-PlayStation Sony game, to my knowledge. Monopoly. Don't know anything about this game. Don't know what that is. Nigel Mansell's World Championship Racing. One of those games that are just unforgettable. Like one of the all-time classic, all-time greats. If you've never played Nigel Mansell's World Championship Racing, I don't know what to tell you. But I would say go over to eBay right now, get yourself a copy before it's too late, before you die having never played Nigel Mansell's World Championship Racing. Pilot Wings, this was in that $5 bundle. Kind of quaint now. There's not probably a reason you would play this, but I can see this would be pretty impressive back in the day if you were, as far as like some of the 3D rendering and stuff. And Pilot Wings it's a cool series. I can appreciate just kind of the more relaxed gameplay of just kind of fly around, do your thing. I really liked Pilot Wings on the 3DS. And the 64 game's not bad too. A little bit more dated as far as graphics go. Race Driving. Rap Jam Volume 1. This is a very strange... This has kind of gone up in price. I think I paid $5 at a game store for this one. This is just a very strange game. It is a rap basketball game where you can play as different rappers. As you can see here, a bunch of 90s rappers you can play as. But then there is like one song in the whole game, I'm pretty sure. There's like one song in the whole game. Like they didn't go like the rock and roll racing route where they digitized a bunch of like... licensed music and made it like 16-bit versions of licensed music. There's just one like generic hip-hop beat in the whole game. So, I mean, if you want to play a Super Nintendo basketball game with a character who vaguely looks like Queen Latifah or LL Cool J, you can, I guess, but I don't know why you would especially want to. But Roadrunner Death Valley Rally. I don't remember if I've ever played this one or not. Sunsoft made some pretty decent 2D platformers, like licensed ones, so this one's probably not bad. But I think I did. That was a flea market find. I think I tried that one out. It's been so long. That was a flea market find like 2013. SimCity. So this was obviously, the kind of a console version of SimCity that Nintendo published, and they had, added a little bit of Nintendo flair to it. It's a noble effort, if nothing else, to try to port this over to Super Nintendo, but I think if you're going to play SimCity, you're probably better off playing it on PC. That's just my opinion, though. Maybe there's a dedicated SimCity Super Nintendo community. Got here another pre-PlayStation Sony game, Smart Ball. This is kind of a hidden gem. I don't know if a lot of people know this one. Kind of a hidden gem. It's a fun little kind of puzzle platformer type game. Maybe it's nothing exquisite, but it's pretty good. So if you're going to have one sealed game in your collection, you probably have Space Invaders sealed. I don't know what's up with this, but there was like a bunch of sealed copies of this game that are just, I feel like, out there. I got this one at eStarland for like $15. I thought it was just cool to have a sealed copy. Like, you know, not going to like get it graded or something, but just thought it was kind of cool. I should note that all my box games are in box protectors. That's why they're kind of shiny. They're not like repro cases. They're in box protectors. I haven't played it sealed. I'm going to guess it's like Space Invaders, but on the Super Nintendo. I don't know if that's a bold statement. Star Fox, another one that's, you know, pretty impressive for the system, but probably not one you're going to go to very often, but it is cool. Star Fox 64 is, of course, you know, the one you're probably more likely to play, but it's really cool that they put Star Fox 2 out finally after it was canceled. They put that out on the Super Nintendo Classic. Got Street Fighter 2. And Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Street Fighter 2 is, of course, just iconic at this point. I mean, what a classic. Great pixel art, great art style, and then just some of those iconic looking characters in not just fighting games, but any game. Just awesome. And it's so funny that, you know, Street Fighter 1 was, no one cares about Street Fighter 1. Let's be very clear. So then for Capcom to kind of come back to it and, you know, put out something as influential as Street Fighter 2 is awesome. And those are just two of the many Street Fighter 2s out there. Super Mario All-Stars. It's an all-timer cart right there. Like one of the first very, very early examples of a, you know, a remake or a remaster. I guess a little bit of both. The NES Mario games, you know, put with some new graphics, and they're fun. They play well. You know, what can you say that has not already been said? Super Mario Kart, I'm sorry to say it again, one of those ones that pretty cool for its time, pretty impressive game. But if I'm going to play Mario Kart, there are probably 5 other Mario Karts I would choose to play before Super Mario Kart. But, you know, I always liked the art style, you know, of the Mario Kart box art. I feel like it doesn't get enough attention. I liked that. I like that like line art Mario art style that we got kind of late 80s, early 90s. And Mario Kart's made Nintendo a lot of money. Super Mario RPG. So I saved this box from being thrown away. There was a game store, and as recently, this was in 2017, a lot of my Super Nintendo boxes actually, but most notably this one, are from this game store who told me, oh, I just throw away the boxes. We just throw away the boxes. This game store doesn't exist anymore, and I went on to buy, you know, a number of boxes from them. But I think I paid $1 each for the boxes, something like that. But this one was $2 because it was a Mario game. So and then I just picked up a cart for this one somewhere along the way. I think for like $50 and got this one complete. Another one, I've never beaten this game, so a very late release Super Nintendo game. I would say Super Nintendo of the Nintendo systems is, and you might be able to see this in this video, especially as it goes on, maybe one of the more, probably the Nintendo system, like console that I'm least familiar with the library, and I have the least experience playing, because it's just before my time, and some of the games take a little bit more time than, you know, when I was experimenting with NES games. And when I first started collecting, Super Nintendo was actually the last system for Nintendo that I purchased, that I was able to find and purchase and everything. So it's just one I have the least experience with. So I never finished Super Mario RPG, but 1996 release, so it was like the last year of the Super Nintendo, and pretty cool game. I really the idea that they brought in Square Enix to make Squaresoft, not even Square Enix, obviously. They didn't merge with Enix until the 2000s. The idea that they brought in Squaresoft after their kind of Mega Man days. It's been a long day. After their Final Fantasy days, just to make a, you know, turn-based Mario RPG is super cool, and of course they've remade it. Supernova, this is a box I got. My cousin gave me a lot of the boxes of his games. I don't know why he would even have this game, because he really only liked like racing games, it would seem. I don't know why he had this game. It's a decent, side-scrolling shooter. It's not really my genre, so it might be terrible, and I have no idea. And I just was like, this was fine. But Super Off-Road, Super Strike Eagle. We're in the S's, so that means we're in the supers. And some of these I'm not gonna have anything to say. Super Tennis. It's tennis. Was that? It might have been a launch game. Was this a launch game? I mean, I guess who really cares? But yeah, 91. So launch window, if nothing else. Super WrestleMania, LJN, Tasmania. I remember growing up with Taz Escape from Mars. I had that one on Genesis. I don't know. This one does not look familiar to me at all. Tecmo Super Bowl. I'm not a sports game fan, so I know people like Tecmo Super Bowl. I know that it's kind of like one of the definitive retro sports games, but Tecmo Super Bowl 2 is pretty pricey on Super Nintendo. I have a Tecmo Super Bowl 3, but it's still over on the other shelf. It's out of order. Wings 2, Aces High. So when I said that guy for $5, I got a bunch of airplane games for the Super Nintendo, I was not lying. That's where I got stuff like Super Strike Eagle, and Wings 2, Aces High. Yoshi's Island. This is one of my funniest things in my collection. I got this for like dirt cheap, Yoshi's Island, Yoshi's Safari, I should say, the Super Scope game. And someone, you can see here, I tried to get it off, but someone crossed out the title of Yoshi's Safari, and then with like a marker, and then wrote Super Mario World on the artwork on the box. So I tried to get it off, but it didn't come completely off. But I just find that really funny. Because I like the idea that someone got this game and they're like, no, I wanted Mario World. I didn't want Yoshi's Safari. But Yoshi's Safari, very strange game. I don't have a Super Scope, so I've never played it. But just a strange game in the sense that it's like a first-person shooter where you ride on the back of Yoshi. It's very odd. Very, very strange. Vegas Stakes. That's like a grandpa Super Nintendo game. That's like a game your grandpa would buy. I don't know who was playing Vegas Stakes on Super Nintendo, but shout out. Another $5 game, Turn and Burn, No Fly Zone. Let's go, brother. Another $5. I told you guys, I got space games and plane games and flight games. This guy liked this. An old previously played SNES game. Sticker on there. Top Gear. Tecmo Super Bowl 3 Final Edition. These are the ones that are out of order that I just don't have space for. Super Alfred Chicken. Under Mort the Chicken for PlayStation, this is probably one of the all-time best chicken games. Just an all-time chicken classic, guys. Check that one out for sure if you are a fan of chicken gaming. Super Bases Loaded 2. Super Battleship. You can kind of see that these were cheap finds I kept because I thought they were cool in the box. Super Black Bass. I'm going to get some comments of people being like, why don't you like your games? I don't, like, guys, I keep every Super Nintendo game I get. I got Super Black Bass somehow. I don't know. Super Caesar's Palace. And actually, like, good games. Super Castlevania 4 is in here. I got this one cheap. I used to have a game store near me who would price all their complete in box games the same price as loose cart games. So I got this for like $30 back in the day. Great deal. This is one of the all-time Super Nintendo games. Not enough people talk about this one as like one of the great Super Nintendo games. I think people really like this one, but this game is so cool for Super Nintendo. This is a great game, great soundtrack. Definitely, I mean, one of the best on the system. And I remember getting this one and it smelled horribly of cigarettes, like really bad. But I was like, it's too good of a deal to pass up. So I put it in dryer sheets forever. And I haven't opened this box in a few years. I'm gonna sniff it right now. I'm gonna see if it still smells like cigarettes. No, it just smells like dryer sheets inside now. Yeah. That's the pro tip from Objo Gaming. Put dryer sheets in your stuff that smells like cigarettes. It'll take the smell right out, and it'll just smell like dryer sheets, which is, I would say an inoffensive thing to smell, all things considered. All right, taking a look now at my loose cart Super Nintendo games. Complete in box collection is through there. This is going to be probably where more some of the iconic and more memorable games are because they're very expensive complete in box. So, like for example, very iconic game, The Adventures of Dr. Franken. This was a garage sale find in which I got a complete in box Super Nintendo, a copy of Donkey Kong Country, this game, and then for some reason the incredibly rare Super Bowling for Nintendo 64, all for $5. Yeah, one of my best all-time finds. That was 2014. Used to be finds like that out there. Adventures of Dr. Franken. It's like a pretty standard platformer, kind of Halloween themed. Aerobiz and I've never played either of these. To my knowledge, they're like airline simulation games. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Aerobiz Supersonic. That's a weird font. Yeah, Supersonic. Which I think this game actually holds a little bit of value, kind of uncommon. But other ones that are garage sale finds. Once again, you're going to hear that a lot. I do most of my retro collecting from garage sales, so I have a very eclectic collection. I keep everything that I don't have for Super Nintendo, so very eclectic collection. There might be some classics that I'm missing. There might be some games that are your favorites that I'm missing. But what can you do? Aero the Acrobat. This game's pretty good. Sunsoft, knew how to make them. And this isn't like a, all-timer, but pretty good. I mean, it's better than something like Bubsy, Al Unser Jr.'s Road to the Top, much like Nigel Mansell's Whatever game. Al Unser Jr.'s Whatever game is pretty awesome too. Animaniacs. Konami made some pretty solid Animaniacs games for the 16-bit consoles. I don't know anything about Animaniacs because I'm not 107 years old. This was way before my time, like solid, 10 years before my time probably. So I don't know anything about them, but I like that Genesis game Buster Busts a Nut. I like that one. That one's pretty good. Batman Returns. This is the one I was talking about earlier. This is a pretty solid beat 'em up, and don't hear this one talked about very much, but Konami made it. Pretty good beat 'em up. It has a really cool. The manual artwork is pretty cool. It's like this yellow portrait of Batman. Battle Clash, another Super Scope game. This is probably, if you find a cheap game somewhere or some cheap, Super Nintendo games, it's probably going to be in there for some reason. All right. Bill Walsh, College Football. Yeah. Bulls versus Blazers. This is Green Video. Got that from Green Video. I'm going to guess that place isn't around anymore. Tiny Toon Adventures, Buster's Bust. So I don't even know what I'm talking about. Buster Busts a Nut is Tiny Toon Adventures, not Animaniacs. They're the same thing to me. I don't know the difference between those. Someone leave me in the comments below what the difference between Tiny Toons and Animaniacs is. But Buster Bust Loose is a pretty good Konami platformer. Both made by Konami. They're both little cartoon characters. I don't know. C2 Judgment Clay. This is Clay Fighter. You can tell that they just really thought they were clever with this. Instead of T2 Judgment Day, they were like, man, we're going to do C2 Judgment Clay. They were always with the movie parodies. They thought they were really, Sculptor's Cut and all that. Man, they thought they were funny. Contra Thieves, the Alien Wars. I'm so bad at Contra. I'm so bad at these games, but cool step up from the NES games, into the 16-bit fun game. Cybernator. I don't know what this one is. It's from Konami. I've never tried that one out. Looks interesting. I don't know. I didn't even think I knew I had that. Daffy Duck, the Marvin Missions. I don't think I've played or even tried this one. Sunsoft made some. I would normally just check something like that because Sunsoft made some pretty good games back then for licensed stuff. So I don't know. Another time. Another day. I have not had a good, a lot of times I'll just have I'm just going to plug in, turn on the Super Nintendo and just throw some random games on and just give them a shot. I haven't had one for the Super Nintendo in a while because I haven't had my Super Nintendo set up for some reason. So it's been a little while since I've really spent some time with the old Super Nintendo. Maybe that's going to have to change because I actually got a good bundle of games I'll talk about not too long from a friend that I'll have to, I don't think tried out any of those ones yet. That was foreshadowing. So I got this one a really cool find. This is Demon's Crest, really cool Capcom game. I haven't played this copy, but this is on Nintendo Switch Online. and just a cool, kind of in like the Gargoyles Quest universe. Just a cool, or Ghosts and Goblins, stuff like that. Cool game. I should probably fact check that. I don't know. I think that's true. I don't know. It's all Capcom. You know what? They're all in the same universe, and Phoenix Wright and Okami and Resident Evil and I don't know. Everything Capcom's in the same universe. Exoprimal, everything. Yeah, Demon's Crest. Beloved Monster Hunter YouTuber Sky85 texted me one day saying that his uncle was about to throw away a bunch of games, and he saved them, and I bought them from him. Got a good deal. I paid him like about 60% of the retail going price. So what ended up happening is I ended up about breaking even, making maybe $100, and then keeping like some games for free, and one of them being Demon's Crest. Super cool to have, and yeah, I got some other solid games from him too that I have not. This was probably 2 years ago now, so it's been a while, but too many games, guys. Earthbound, an awesome garage sale find from 2021. One of my favorite garage sale finds. Woman brings out a bunch of Super Nintendo games, and this is just in there. So I ended up paying $60 for the lot. I remember there was 12 games, so $5 a game, $5 for Earthbound. And of course I sold some games from there, so really technically free, but yeah, very awesome. I think that video, it was a pickup video. I was when I was not filming garage sales yet, but I think that video is called something like my best weekend of garage sales ever, and I found some great stuff that weekend, so I recommend that video. Earthworm Jim 2. I've never cared too much about Earthworm Jim. I feel like it was more of a thing of like the graphics, kind of, were the main selling point, and the gameplay is not great. I don't know if that's going to get some hate. It's that guy, Doug TenNapel, did like the animation. That guy's kind of a freak. I don't know, but whatever. Emmett Smith football. EA Sports, FIFA, International Soccer. I told you I keep everything. F-Zero. I would say F-Zero is still pretty fun on Super Nintendo. I still can't believe this series is not, they're not doing anything with it. Like F-Zero 99, which I thought was a dreadful idea. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I never tried it. I just thought that was a horrendous idea. But F-Zero is super cool. If I were to play any F-Zero right now, I would plug in F-Zero GX because that game's awesome. But I think the Super Nintendo game's actually still pretty fun. Still holds up pretty well. Gun Force. Home Improvement. So Home Improvement is such a bizarre... This is a pretty uncommon game. I got this at a flea market when I was on vacation. I think I paid $5 for it a long time ago. Yeah, pretty uncommon game. And it's just a funny thing to even exist. Just so strange that... And it's very clear. It feels almost like they made a game and then someone told them, hey, we got the Home Improvement license, and I think that'll help us sell the game better. Because there's parts where you're like running around like prehistoric times. There's dinosaurs. You're shooting it with like a staple gun. It's so bizarre, but I would say this is an all-time classic as far as just strange licensed games and a Super Nintendo classic. I feel like this should be on the SNES Mini more than, probably Super Mario World, even more than that. Incredible Hulk. I don't remember what Hulk game that is. There's a couple of them. James Bond Jr. These are all a lot of these are like all games I've tried out and I don't remember a thing about. I don't remember James Bond Jr. Madden. I'm sure I didn't try out Madden 93. I'm sorry. The Lost Dimension. This is actually Jim Power, The Lost Dimension in 3D. The Jungle Book. Another virgin, Disney, why'd you go? They were like half their games were with Capcom, half them with a Virgin. Come on, guys. Full Capcom. Ken Griffey Jr. This has always been interesting with me. Nintendo used to make their own sports games. And they signed Ken Griffey Jr. and everything. I always thought that was super interesting. They don't obviously do anything like that now. But they had like NBA Courtside. They had they did it into Super Nintendo, and they just stopped. And I'm kind of surprised they're not doing anything like that for the Switch now. I mean, they don't get a football game, they don't get Madden. They didn't get any baseball game for a while until they got MLB The Show. But that's, pretty ugly on Switch. And they don't get, a real FIFA. They get a FIFA that's like the Legacy Edition that's crap. This is the same game with a roster update every year. Like, they get, they get the short end of the stick as far as that. And I'm kind of surprised that they don't do that. I mean, only, publisher, they get the 2K basketball games. That's about it as far as that goes. And they get the wrestling games, and they're a nightmare. Let me fix this. Another Ken Griffey Jr. I went on the Ken Griffey rant, and I had one of his games. I didn't even realize it. They should have put Ken Griffey in Smash Brothers. Why didn't they put Ken Griffey Jr. in Smash Brothers? Like, that's an iconic Nintendo character. Killer Instinct, that one black cartridge, for the Super Nintendo. Well, there's, I think, a couple, but this was back when I used to be able to find games. I remember I found this in the same place I found Batman Returns, like 2013 at a thrift store, Salvation Army. I haven't found a game in a Salvation Army probably since then. But cool fighting game. Nintendo tried to have like their own fighting game. Rare, of course, developed it. They did that Killer Instinct for Xbox One, and that's the last we've heard of Killer Instinct. There's Killer Instinct Gold too, but I don't know. I know it has its fan base, so. It's Lemmings. Yeah, we know Lemmings. Lion King. I hate this game. I hate the 16-bit Lion King game. There's a reason I have this, animosity towards Virgin, because they're the virgins who made this stupid game. I hate this game. I had it as a kid for the Genesis. It's miserable. The music's terrible. The graphics are pretty hideous. It's awful. It's so painfully difficult. Like, it's this like the biggest movie of 1994, whatever that movie came out. It's like the biggest movie of that year. It's a big, huge kids movie. Oh, let's make a game of it. Oh, let's actually make it like harder than every single From Software game combined. This is just like the first Dark Souls game ever made, but they made Lion King. This is a Souls-like. It's stupid. I hate this game. I hate the stupid freaking Lion King game. There's only one game I hate more than that. And maybe I'll discuss that later. Metal Combat. I wish this was Metal Warriors instead. The Intelligent Systems Super Nintendo game. This is just a stupid freaking... I'm getting like angry. I'm getting like heated. This is a long day at work. I'm recording this video kind of late at night to get this out. So, Yeah, this is that game I had as a kid, Mickey's Ultimate Challenge. You could beat it in like 15 minutes if you knew what you were doing. It's pretty simple, but for some reason it tickles this part of my brain where I was like, yeah, I remember this. I remember playing this when I was like 4. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is a pretty good beat 'em up. I have no affinity to the Power Rangers whatsoever. Like, I have absolutely no opinion of the Power Rangers. There's like there is a lot of that stuff since I was born in the late 90s. All that stuff from the 80s and early 90s, like Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, Transformers. I have no opinion of these things. I don't hate them. I don't really care about them. So, when I say this is a pretty good beat 'em up, it's a pretty good beat 'em up. That's all I have to say. Mortal Kombat 2, not the hugest Mortal Kombat fan, especially the old ones. I feel like just feel so stiff. Stuff like, Mortal Kombat 2 on Super Nintendo. I feel like it just feels so stiff. But, of course, iconic. The Super Nintendo version, not so much. Didn't have the blood or the gore, which was kind of the selling point. It's not as cool as the Genesis game, but, it's better than the Game Gear version or something. I don't know. Mortal Kombat 3. Did they ever add in, like, the gore on the later releases? I don't know. I'm not a one. Interesting is one of the few games for Super Nintendo that actually has, like, the ESRB rating. Not too many. Not too many at all. But, yeah, I mean, I'm not a Mortal Kombat historian. Did they ever end up adding in the gore in the later Super Nintendo versions or something? I don't know. NBA Jam. This needs cleaned. This copy needs cleaned. I know people really like NBA Jam as far as sports games go. Still not a big sports game fan. Didn't they put Hillary Clinton in like the NBA Jam for Wii? Or is that like a dream I had? Miss Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man. I gotta be honest. No one's watching this far into the video, so I gotta just say, man. Miss Pac-Man's kind of hot and sexy. Leave a comment down below if you think Miss Pac-Man is hot and sexy. That'll show that you made it this far in the video. Prove you're a true audio gaming viewer. NBA Live 95. It's a nice little rhyme to it. NBA Live 97, pretty late release. This would have been either 96 or 97. Made in Puerto. Remember when Trump said, "I'm Puerto Rico"? He said Puerto Rico. That was awesome. He said it like that too. It was so strange. This video's really gone off the rails. I don't know what's going on anymore. NBA Showdown. This video's going off the rails. If you're watching this far into it, I gotta thank you. Nickelodeon All Real Monsters. This was another one in the Sky 85 game bundle. I have not tried. Viacom New Media. Find that interesting. Pack Attack. If leave a like if you think that the pack is back. That's all I gotta say. I don't know what Pack Attack is. I don't remember which one that is. There's so many weird Pac-Man spin-offs. I don't know. Pac-Man and the... Look up the theme song for Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. Pink Panther, Pink Goes to Hollywood. I remember buying this one because it was at a game store, and I think it was like 97 cents or something like that. I don't know. I grew up playing this Pink Panther game on PC called Peril in Pink, and that game is actually pretty good from what I remember when I was like 4 or 5. It was developed by, I forget the studio, but they went on to be one of the Rockstar studios, so it was a point-and-click PC game. This isn't like that, though. Why is this? This is like dirty, this cartridge. Why did I not clean this when I bought this and then I just put it on the shelf? That's gross. What is that? That like... I'm going to clean that. I'm putting that one aside. I'll clean it later. I don't want to like mess up the stacking. This video is going off the rails, so I'm going to try to rein it back in. Pinocchio. I don't have anything to say about that one. Populous. Another one that, you know, you're probably better off not playing this on Super Nintendo, but I still have the dollar sticker on it. Come on, I got it. Prince of Persia. So this is just kind of, you know, Prince of Persia, the original. Obviously, you probably know this series better for the reboots, but classic PC series. Kind of classic platformers, very different from normal platformers that you would have played from that era. But I think most people probably know it from the reboot series from Ubisoft. Saturday Night Slam Masters. I know people like that one, but just not really my thing. Scooby-Doo Mystery. This is a pretty decent one from what I remember. Another Sunsoft 2D licensed game, you know. Secret of Mana. So this was a garage sale find. I distinctly remember, this is a funny story. So I distinctly remember this guy had a bunch of good Super Nintendo games, and I was like, how much you want for this stuff? He brought them out. I asked if he had games. He brought them out. He's like, I don't know if I want to sell them. I think I'd want $5 each for him, except I'd want 15 for, he had Final Fantasy 3 cartridge. And I was like, okay. And it came to like $60 altogether. And I was like, I had a $50 bill. And I was like, would you take 50? And his wife's like, just real quickly was like, yes. And he was like, I guess. So I ended up getting his Final Fantasy 3/6 for $5 anyway. But Secret of Mana, really cool game. I feel like this game's ahead of its time as far as just being like a action RPG with like some multiplayer on the Super Nintendo. Super cool. Way ahead of its time. Great music too, of course. And I still think this is one of the most iconic, you know, box arts of all time. Would love to get that one complete in box at some point. Shaq Fu. I love that this exists. Obviously one of the iconic horrible games, but I love that this exists. I love that there's a Shaquille O'Neal fighting game. That they just, you know, they made a freaking Shaquille O'Neal fighting game, I think is awesome. I mean, that's an all-time classic. Simpsons Bart's Nightmare. Not a great one from what I remember. Spider-Man and X-Men Arcade's Revenge. I don't remember what that one is. I don't have Spider-Man... What's that game? Maximum Carnage. I wish I had that one. Or no, I do have that one. I don't have the red card of it, though. But this game's pretty cool. I like this game quite a bit. This is the later release, like the when it's not a red card. But this game's pretty cool. I wish I had the red card, though. The red card's cool. I don't have Doom either. That's the other red card game. Sunset Riders. This was a garage sale find where I got a bunch of great games for $50, and this was in there. I like this game quite a bit too. This is a cool Konami, side-scrolling beat 'em up style game. I like this one quite a bit. Konami was just the king of like the side-scrolling beat 'em ups. Like so many good ones. Simpsons game, the arcade game. This one, Turtles in Time, which we'll get to at some point. Classics, just classics. I'm feeling like I'm getting into that. I don't know if anyone's seen that Donkey video where he's looked at people's game collection videos. Where he was making fun of just people who are just going classic, classic, classic over every game. And I feel like I'm going in on that territory. So I'm going to try to be on classic from the rest of this video. Batter up. Super batter up. We're in the supers now, guys. We're in the supers. I appreciate, companies coming together to name games super whatever. And then they did it again a little bit on 64. And this is this game 64. Quest 64. Super Battle Tank, War in the Gulf. But not just any Super Battle Tank. Gary Kitchen's Super Battle Tank. So, shout out to Gary Kitchen. Hope he's doing well. He got a sequel, but I don't think he had much involvement with Super Battle Tank 2, because his name's not even freaking on it. When you think of game designers, you think of, you can put their names on things, you think of like Hideo Kojima and Gary Kitchen. Those are like the top two. And you probably don't think of anyone else. Those are the only guys you think of. Oh, this is Super High Impact. Very cool. Super Mario All-Stars with Mario World. It doesn't get much better than this, guys. Mario World is an all-timer. And I'll just talk about Mario World while I'm here. Mario World's an all-timer, of course. It still holds up like it's, came out yesterday. It just, probably the most timeless game to ever exist. Just an all-timer. Mario World is awesome. Infinitely replayable. Just everything about it. It is what a video game should be, honestly. It's just like absolutely, dare I say, a classic. And then you already get, you get the Mario 1, 2, Lost Levels, 3, remakes, remasters, however you want to call them, with Mario World. It doesn't get much better than that one. Shout out to Mario. Super Metroid. I didn't have this one for the longest time, and I got it in the Sky 85 saved from the trash one. Check out that video. It's from about 2 years ago. I think it's just called These Games Are Going in the Trash. That's a good one. But this is a player's choice version of the game. It's the only player's choice game I have in my collection right now. Something's going to have to give. Super Off-Road the Baja. Doesn't have anything, unfortunately, to do with Baja Blast Mountain Dew. Super Play Action Football. Very common game. Super Punch-Out. This is the Punch-Out game I have probably the least knowledge of. I am so bad at Punch-Out, but I'm so enamored with watching Punch-Out gameplay and watching people play Punch-Out and just high-level Punch-Out gameplay. It's so impressive to me. Just the pattern recognition and everything. I'm so bad at it, but the reaction time and the pattern recognition people have. I went to a game convention and watched a guy do the blindfolded Punch-Out, and he beat the whole game in like half hour, 40 minutes. Blindfolded. I think he only died like once at the end. Just using sounds. It was crazy. I'm enamored with Punch-Out gameplay. It's such perfect gameplay. I don't know if they're going to ever bring back Punch-Out. Because it could maybe be a little bit considered to be maybe a tad racist. I could see where people would make that argument. So I don't know if they'll ever bring back Punch-Out, or if they do, it would be a lot different. But shout out to the Punch-Out game on the Wii. That one's really good. I like that one. But we might probably not see Punch-Out again. But Super Punch-Out, I don't have a lot of experience with. I mean, I've messed around with it. I played it. Super Star Wars. I have all those Super Empire Strikes Back and Super Return of the Jedi. Pretty cool games. Good, to have these side-scrolling platformers based off the classic movies that came out way later. These games are super difficult, though. These games are tough as nails. I cannot with those ones. They're tough. Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2, I should say. I've kind of said what I have to say about Street Fighter, but Street Fighter 2 specifically. Tecmo Super NBA Basketball. Troddlers. Shout out to Troddlers. You could use the Super Nintendo mouse. I feel like someone put this game in my collection as a joke. I don't know if I've ever seen this before. I didn't know I had this. I feel like this is a fake game someone made up and put it in my collection as like a joke. Troddlers. Shout out. Turtles in Time, one of the best Super Nintendo games. Once again, coming from someone who has no affinity for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in any way. This is such an awesome 2D beat 'em up. Great visuals, just timeless visuals, and the music is so good too. I would say probably top 5 Super Nintendo games, if not like top 3. I don't know, top 3 is a little high, but I would say top 5 for sure. Awesome game. Urban Strike. This is the sequel to Jungle Strike, as you can see, but I don't know, games like these to me are almost like video game version of like Melatonin. I can't do that kind of stuff. I know that guy who likes the flight games definitely liked him, the $5 guy, but I can't do games like that. It's just not for me. UN Squadron. This one's pretty cool. I remember hearing about this one, actually. They used to talk about this one on the old episodes of the Game Chasers. And I remember, this was a pretty cool game. And yeah, kind of a hidden gem, because you would see this title, and it is from Capcom, but you would see this and probably think it was another boring flight game. But it's a pretty cool. Shout out to beloved YouTube commenter Iron Lung 63 for this game. He didn't give it to me, but I know he has Ultraman as his profile picture, so I figured he's probably a huge Ultraman fan. Shout out to him, and if he has Ultraman Super Nintendo, let me know what he thinks of that game. I don't know. He comments on all my videos. He usually just writes like nice or something. Shout out to Iron Lung. If you have anything to say about that game, if you somehow made it this far, let me know. Wheel of Fortune Deluxe Edition. Wordtris. They really didn't try with that title. Yeah, it's like Tetris with words. What do we call it? Oh, we call it Wordtris. Wolverine Adamantium Range. This one's not bad. This is one. LGN, some of their Marvel titles are not bad, and this one's not bad, from what I remember at least. Royal Rumble. Nothing to say about WWF Royal Rumble. X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. This one is pretty good. This one was Capcom, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I wish we got another. I think of the Konami. I was talking about the Konami beat 'em ups, and with X-Men, and I wish we got kind of more of that. But I don't know. I feel like the X-Men are like prime for a nice beat 'em up, modern beat 'em up game, like how we got Streets of Rage 4, that new Ninja Turtles beat 'em up, which I still haven't played. Like a .emu, 2D beat 'em up with X-Men, I think could be pretty cool, but Disney probably won't do that. Yoshi's Island. I like Yoshi's Island. This is one of the more impressive games visually for Super Nintendo, for sure. And it's so weird that they made this, Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. I thought that was such a strange choice, but I don't think anyone ever refers to it as Mario World 2. But I like this one quite a bit, and it's a shame that besides, Yoshi's Woolly World, they never really made another very good Yoshi game ever again. Definitely not like Yoshi's New Island or Yoshi's Island DS, and Yoshi's Story is iffy. Yoshi's Story is a pretty disappointing follow-up to Yoshi's Island, I'll say that much. So guys, I promised I'd keep this one under an hour. It's only 54 minutes almost, so I'm going to end it there. Once again, like I said, probably the least, I don't know what I'm trying to say. This is a 54-minute video talking about the Super Nintendo. I have probably the least experience with Super Nintendo as a whole, but great games on Super Nintendo. One of the more timeless systems, especially as far as retro goes. I feel like a lot of these games are absolutely timeless. And then you jump to 64, and that's a lot harder to make that argument, even with some of the best games on there. But you can throw on Mario World or Yoshi's Island or, Turtles in Time, and still have a fantastic time with those games, Secret of Mana. And that's not something you could say with a lot of retro systems. You can't really necessarily say that with a lot of NES games. You can't necessarily say that about a lot of PlayStation games or, Sega Saturn games. But you can for a lot of, 16-bit games. I feel like it was kind of like the peak of retro in a lot of ways. So if any of these games I skipped over are like a hidden gem, let me know. If you somehow made it this far into this video, let me know. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Leave a like if you enjoy, because it really helps. And until next time, I'd like to thank you for watching.